My name's Wolfgang Buttress. I'm an artist based in Nottingham, UK.
My name's Martin Benchik. I am a reader in physics. I am an academic teaching and doing research at the university in Nottingham.
We chose to use the idea of the bee for a number of reasons. One of the first reasons, the whole idea of this year's expo was feeding the planet, which is it's a very laudable aim. But how do you express that, and how do you explore this idea with a simple metaphor which a child could understand as well as an academic? There's lots of people from all different countries, nationalities, so it needed to be something simple but also profound at the same time. One of the most challenging things which I think the world will be facing in the next 10, 20 years is the potential decline of pollinators. Pollinators are responsible for 30% of all the food that we eat, and the honeybee is one of the most important, and the honeybee is in decline. So it was a way of addressing this issue, and what I wanted to do here was not to create a museum, but to create a live, living experience. So you would feel a sense of the journey of the bee. You would feel that you were part of the landscape, you're inside the landscape, and that you weren't being lectured to or taught to. So the first idea was to take a slice of the British countryside and transport it over to Milan. What we wanted to do was to try and be as sustainable as possible. So 60% of all the site itself is planted, is landscape, is meadow, it's trees which could be recycled. And then the other thing, the hive itself, the sculptural hive, it was designed so it could be built and installed, and also taken away to have a second life back in the UK.
I would be glad if the visitor realized the sophistication of the communication that takes place between honeybees. And I would be glad if the visitor realized exquisite sounds and vibrations that they can convey, which is hopefully very unexpected for any visitor, including a visitor very, very familiar with honeybees. Hopefully even them will be surprised and amazed at the kind of signals that they will hear at the UK Pavilion at the Expo. We have worked at the visitor hearing the honeybee sounds and vibration, and we have also worked at Wolfgang's structure to be illuminated by differing colors, and the colors are changing according to the status of the hive. So as a grand scale, you may want to say that the glowing of Wolfgang's sculpture is actually an image of how well the planet is and how well the environment is, and you can follow the evolution of the environment by following the glowing of this sphere.
And again, just to reiterate, I think that was one of the really important things at the beginning, that the visitor would feel in the moment and in the now. So by having these live signals which you can see and sense, and also the music, we work with some amazing musicians to create a soundscape. And again, the soundscape continually changes. And this is influenced by the energy of the real beehive back in Nottingham. So, for example, in the morning when it's quieter and calmer, we have these live signals which are sent from the real beehive in Nottingham over to Milan, and at certain frequencies they'll open a noise gate, and then possibly a piano will start, or a little cello or a violin. So it's very calm and sort of soothing, quite meditative. And in the afternoon, when the bees are busier, there's more frequencies. There's a lot open up more noise gates. But we've actually recorded all these musical stems in the same key. So even though we know they're harmonious, we never know what they're going to sound like. So it's the bees that are, in a way, composing the music. So there's just been this real synergy between bee and man, which has been a really beautiful thing. And it's, I think one of the great things about this is I think for all of us, has been learning a little bit of kind of humility and this sort of sense of letting go. And it's the bee that is at the heart of this. It's not we're at the heart of it. And I think, and because it works because of this. I think now when you're in the pavilion itself and you're walking through the wildflower meadow, the idea that it was planted at waist height, it wasn't planted on the ground, so as a man you're walking across it arrogantly, you were kind of walking at it, through it, so you see the flowers and the grasses at this height as a pollinator would. So the idea that you're in nature, you're not on top of nature.
The original involvement we found would be suitable for me to do was to supply sounds and vibrations from a honeybee hive, and we ended up supplying a live stream on the internet coming from a live honeybee hive in the United Kingdom, and this has taken place. This is the case. So right now, if you go to the Milan Expo at the UK Pavilion, you will hear a signal coming from bees not so far away from us, a live signal from a live honeybee hive, which is in Nottingham in the UK, and it is streamed all the way to Milan. So that has happened. And then another idea for my involvement was to do some mathematical software, some algorithm to change the colors of the sculpture of Wolfgang according to the change of the status of the honeybee hive. And that has also taken place. There are some LEDs, there are some lights in the sculpture, which color can be fully controlled by a computer, and the live signal arrives at the UK Pavilion. It is transformed into a color map, and the colors are mapped onto the sphere in which the visitors can go at the UK Pavilion. So these were my main two contributions to the pavilion.
We work with an amazing company called Squint Opera, and I think that's one of the things I think about this pavilion. It has been bringing together, I think, like science and art, design and architecture, landscape. So it is very innovative, I think, as a piece of work. And Squint Opera have been working at different ways how to communicate ideas. They've got a lot of experience working with museums and design, and they came up with the idea of using these bone conductors. So what we did, underneath the hive itself, we have these legs, and then you walk up to one of these legs, you take a little wooden stick, and then you put this wooden stick into one of the legs, and in the leg itself there's a tiny little motor which vibrates, and this has the sounds of the bees tooting and quacking, these amazing sounds which no one has heard before, how bees communicate. And you can go right up to these legs and you can't hear a thing. The only way you can hear them is by putting this stick into the leg. You bite on the stick, and then what happens, the vibration goes from the leg into your head, and then your head acts like a speaker. So it's an amazing thing, but you're getting this information very much how bees communicate through vibrations. So it's a real thrill, and again, we wanted to express this idea in different and new ways rather than having a load of words and text and video screens, because again, this information is inside you. You're not reading it. And we kind of sort of think if it's inside you, perhaps it'll last a little bit longer. So at first, when Ben and Vadim were talking about these bone conductors, I was thinking, yeah, right, this is never going to happen. And honestly, you put your mouth on the stick and you do it, and it's the most incredible experience. So now when you go to the hive and you sort of see people of all nationalities and ages, and what's this? And you sort of see the look on people's faces. It is quite incredible. And again, it's a very simple idea, but because it's simple, it's quite powerful, and it's a really great link between how bees communicate and with themselves and also to us. And I think, to pick up on one of Martin's earlier points, I think the bees can teach us a lot. I mean, Martin was saying before, and I agree. You can see the bee as a sentinel of the earth. The healthier the beehive, the healthier the planet. So to have this emotional connection with the bee, I think, is really important.